When Ray and I first married, I thought I could handle Catherine. Her sharp looks and backhanded compliments were frustrating, but I told myself that if I loved Ray enough, I could endure it. What I didn't realize was how deeply entrenched her disapproval of me truly was, and how it would grow to define our relationship. Catherine wasn't overtly cruel at first. She didn't yell or accuse me outright, but her subtle jabs chipped away at my confidence. "Are you sure you want to wear that?" she'd ask before family dinners, glancing at my outfit as though I had just crawled out of bed. Or, Danielle used to make the most beautiful pies. She was so talented in the kitchen. Danielle. Her name was like a third person in our marriage, ever present and always lingering. Catherine spoke of her as though she were a daughter-in-law in exile, not Ray's ex-girlfriend. Every time she mentioned Danielle, it was like she was measuring me against her, and I was always coming up short. "She just bought a new house," Catherine said one afternoon, sipping tea as we sat in her living room. "It's so beautifully decorated. She has such a good eye for these things." "That's nice," I said politely, though my stomach churned. Ray didn't help. When Catherine brought up Danielle, he would nod and smile, never telling her to stop. He thought it was harmless, but to me it was anything but. Every mention of Danielle felt like a reminder that I wasn't enough. Not for Catherine, and maybe not even for Ray. The unfairness didn't stop there. Catherine criticized everything I did. If I made dinner, it was too salty. If I didn't make dinner, I was lazy. If I dressed up, I was trying too hard. If I didn't, I was sloppy. "She's just hard to please," Ray would say when I brought it up. "Don't take it personally." But it was impossible not to. Especially when Catherine started defending Danielle even after Ray's affair came to light. During this time, my best friend Kevin became my lifeline. He had been a constant presence in my life, someone who always made me feel seen and heard. When I confided in him about Catherine's treatment of me, he listened without judgment, offering the kind of understanding I rarely received from Ray. "You don't deserve this," he said one evening after I vented about Catherine's latest remark. "You've worked so hard to be a good wife, and she's completely blind to that." I sighed, the weight of it all pressing down on me. "It feels like nothing I do is ever enough. She keeps comparing me to Danielle as if I'm supposed to live up to her version of perfection." Kevin shook his head, his expression firm. "You're not in competition with anyone, least of all Danielle. You're smart, talented, and kind. Don't let her make you doubt yourself." His words were a balm to my wounded heart. Whenever Catherine's criticisms cut too deep, I found solace in Kevin's unwavering belief in me. He reminded me of the person I was before marriage, the woman who had dreams, ambitions, and a sense of self-worth. When the suspicions about Ray's infidelity began to grow, Kevin was the first person I turned to. "I don't know if I'm imagining it," I told him one night, tears streaming down my face. "But I think something's going on between Ray and Danielle." Kevin's jaw tightened, his protective instincts kicking in. "Have you talked to him about it?" "Not yet," I admitted. "I'm afraid of what I'll find out." "You deserve the truth," he said gently. "Whatever it is, I'm here for you. Always." It started with small suspicions. Missed calls from Danielle, text messages Ray was quick to delete, and receipts for expensive dinners he hadn't mentioned. I tried to convince myself that I was imagining things, that Ray would never betray me. But the evidence piled up, and one night I couldn't ignore it any longer. "Are you seeing her?" I asked, my voice trembling. Ray froze. "What? No, of course not." "Don't lie to me," I said, holding up his phone with one of Danielle's texts still open on the screen. He stammered, trying to come up with an excuse, but the truth was written all over his face. When I confronted Catherine about it, hoping she might support me, her reaction was worse than I could have imagined. "Danielle is better for him," she said without hesitation. "She's his mistress." I snapped, anger and disbelief bubbling up inside me. "How can you defend her?" Catherine shrugged, her expression calm and unyielding. "Maybe if you'd been a better wife, this wouldn't have happened." Her words were like a slap to the face. I stared at her, waiting for her to realize how cruel she sounded, But she didn't waver. She understands him, Catherine continued as though she were discussing the weather. She's what he needs. That was the moment I knew I couldn't stay. 4 years, I had endured Catherine's disrespect and Ray's spinelessness. But this was too much. Leaving Ray was liberating. For the first time in years I felt free. Free from Catherine's judgment, free from Ray's complacency, free to be myself. Kevin became my anchor during those difficult months. He was there when I needed someone to talk to, someone to remind me that I was worth more than what Ray and Catherine had made me feel. "You're incredible," he said one night as we brainstormed ideas for a business. "They didn't deserve you, and I hope you know that." Together we built something beautiful. A wellness brand focused on self-care and mental health. Started small, but before long it took off. Each milestone felt like a victory, a reminder that I could thrive on my own. Meanwhile, Ray and Danielle's perfect life began to crumble. At first, Catherine seemed thrilled with their relationship. She welcomed Danielle with open arms, singing her praises at every opportunity. "She's just so thoughtful," Catherine gushed to anyone who would listen. "And so accomplished. I always knew she was the right one for Ray." But the honeymoon phase didn't last. Catherine didn't like the way Danielle decorated their home, calling her choices tacky and cheap. Danielle, in turn, found Catherine overbearing and meddlesome. "She's always in our business," Danielle complained to Ray one evening, loud enough for Catherine to hear. The tension escalated from there. Catherine began criticizing everything Danielle did. Her cooking wasn't good enough, her career was too demanding, and she wasn't as attentive to Ray as Catherine thought she should be. "You never make time for him," Catherine said during one family dinner, her voice dripping with disdain. "A good wife puts her husband first." Danielle's patience wore thin. "Maybe if you didn't baby him so much, he wouldn't need me to." Their arguments became a regular occurrence, with Ray caught in the middle. The same man who had once failed to stand up for me now found himself unable to stand up to either of them. On the same day Ray and Danielle finalized their divorce, Kevin proposed to me. We were on the balcony of my apartment, the city lights twinkling around us. "I've loved you for longer than I can admit," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "But more than that, I respect you. You're the strongest, most incredible person I've ever known, and I want to spend the rest of my life proving that to you." Tears filled my eyes as I realized how far I'd come. "I'd be honored," I said, slipping the ring onto my finger. Our wedding was small and intimate, surrounded by friends who had supported me through my darkest days. As Kevin and I exchanged vows, I felt nothing but peace. Ray wasn't there, but I imagined him sitting alone, consumed by regret. Catherine wasn't there either, too busy dealing with the chaos of her fractured relationship with Danielle. But I didn't need them. My past no longer defined me. My future was mine to create, and it had never looked brighter. As Kevin led me onto the dance floor, I realized I was finally free. Free from the pain, the betrayal, and the judgment. My life was my own, and I was ready to live it.